Ranked-on-ranked matchup between LSU and Vanderbilt. Last time these two faced each other as ranked foes was 1947. Tigers entering on a 10-game win streak over the Commodores. Second quarter, LSU down 7-3. Garrett Nussmeier under pressure. Trey'Dez Green, as Nussmeier thrown off his back foot, 24-yard touchdown puts the Tigers up 10-7. Ensuing Vandy drive. Diego Pavia to Cole Spence. Space down the sideline, inside the 5. Spence had 5 catches for 56 yards. 3 plays later on 4th and 1, Cedric Alexander. Doors take a 17-13 lead into the break on his 6th rushing touchdown of the season. Vandy's first drive of the second half. Pavia to Spence. There's that touchdown, 24-13. Pavia's 15th career game with 1 or more passing touchdowns, 1 or more rushing touchdowns. Ensuing Tigers drive. Nussmeier under pressure but hit Xavier Thomas. And where was the tackling on that one? 62 yards. 2-point conversions good, and the LSU Tigers just down 3. Ensuing drive here. 1st and 10 on the LSU 21. Pocket collapsing, but Pavia using his legs gives Vandy some cushion. 31-21 Heisman pose. Clark Lee's won 18 straight games when leading after 3 quarters. Just over 3 minutes left to go in the game. Nussmeier, Marion Brown can't make the catch. Tigers punt on the next play as Nussmeier, hands in his face, towel covering it. Pavia with the ball in 3rd and 7. Another lane opens for him. He pulls the T. Higgins from Thursday night. Doesn't score, goes down, runs out clock, game over. Vanderbilt starts the season 6-1 or better for the first time since 1950. They snapped that 10-game losing streak to LSU dating back to 1990, and their preseason total was 5.5, and they hit it in over just 7 games. And with that, welcome to College Football Postgame. I'm Tommy Trent with one half of the Cover 3 podcast. Tom Fornelli joining me on set. Chip Patterson as well. Tom, I'm going to give you first word. You and I were watching this game upstairs here. What stood out to you about Vanderbilt coming away with this victory?
What stood out to me the most was that Vanderbilt was playing LSU, and they looked like the better football team. This is an LSU program that brought in Brian Kelly from Notre Dame with the idea of it was going to compete for national titles. It was an LSU program that has won multiple national titles. But it's Vanderbilt who in 2025 is the better team. And I think that when you look at them today and you watch how they played, with Diego Pavia at quarterback, they have a veteran quarterback, which a lot of teams no longer have. And we have seen in recent years how that older 24, 25-year-old quarterback has given teams the benefit on the field against other inexperienced teams. And they're still getting that with Pavia. And this is a team to me that even after today's win, and I've been shouting this for a month, that man on the screen with us, Chip Patterson, scoffed at me, Tommy. He scoffed when I told him this a month ago. But why can't Vanderbilt win the SEC? And what I saw today is more evidence that, in my mind, this is a Vanderbilt team that can go on to get to Atlanta and compete for an SEC championship and an at-large playoff spot if they don't come through there.
Chip, are you scoffing at Fornelli now?
No. My biggest takeaway from this game is that, number one, like Tom said, Vanderbilt just went out there and beat LSU on the field. It wasn't trickeration, though they did win the time of possession battle. They got to run more plays. They did a great job on 3rd down. But even defensively, Vanderbilt went out there and they were able to make LSU really wither in a way that we have seen Ole Miss do earlier this year. You know, the way that LSU is just not able to look successful against quality SEC defenses. Well, guess what? Vanderbilt looked like one of those quality SEC defenses. So Clark Lee has told us himself that this is a better football team than it was 1 year ago. He likes the portal additions as well as some of the in-house development that's happened. But Diego Pavia is the story. Diego Pavia is an absolute superstar, and he is a difference maker. I agree. But the fact that Vanderbilt's defense was able to be so strong, I mean, that one Xavier Thomas play is really the only bit of explosivity that we saw from this LSU team. Everything looked difficult, and the fact that Vanderbilt was able to make LSU look as though it is as difficult as it was against Ole Miss, that tells you Vanderbilt's defense isn't that far from Ole Miss. And then, yeah, of course, that means Vanderbilt is a legit SEC title contender.
Okay, so Chip, Tom, echoing a lot what you said they are a legit, the Doors, an SEC contender here with all the other things that are yet to be played here in Week 8 of the college football season. But just to pick up again on Diego Pavia here, second Vandy player the last 30 seasons with 1 or more passing touchdowns, 2 or more passing touchdowns against a ranked team. Jordan Rodgers did it in 2011. Again, what were some of the key things that stood out to you about his play today against the Tigers?
I mean, it's the same thing we've seen from Diego Pavia week in and week out since he took over the job at Vanderbilt. He just makes plays. It's like sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not, but either way, when the play breaks down, he is still able to get it done. He's still able to move the chains or find the open receiver. And we also saw at times in this game, he made some very nice throws. And when it comes to Diego Pavia, it's not usually his arm that we're talking about. But I thought today in particular, he made some very nice throws to help keep the passing attack going. And we all know what he does with his legs. He's an incredible rusher. And I just think that he's such a spiritual kind of leader for this team. And they get their confidence from him. And Diego Pavia looks across at the line of scrimmage at the other team, and there isn't a player or a team that he doesn't think he can beat or have success against. And the rest of his team picks up on that. And you just get that kind of confident vibe from this Commodore squad going forward. And I think that what you saw today was a performance that possibly starts getting Pavia's name mentioned more and more in the Heisman race.
Tom, let me throw one more at you here. He took care of the football. That was the biggest difference between this game and the Alabama game. The Alabama game, you get some Diego Pavia turnovers. You get some Vanderbilt turnovers, especially ones in the red zone. This was a clean football game. And so Diego Pavia sometimes is able to, give you those high highs, and then sometimes, that fearless abandon that he plays with can end up costing you. But I thought that this was a game where Diego Pavia was very smart when it was time, knowing when it was time to go out there and make the chance. Taking care of the football was a great way, because there were other teams all across the country that really struggled with red zone turnovers. Not Vanderbilt. They took advantage of their opportunities, and that's why they're winners here today and looking like a top 10 team in America.
Dude, what a game and what a performance, and a statement made by Clark Lee and his crew. On the flip side here, Tom, LSU with Garrett Nussmeier. There was a stat there again. He is still yet to eclipse 300 yards passing, did so 8 times last year. And also CFP implications. Our inside the lines team had a 56% chance to get in with the win. Now it's down under 20%. Let's address the Nussmeier stuff first. How much does he get in terms of the disappointment or some of the blame for some of the struggles they're not hitting 300 this year?
I think Nussmeier does shoulder some of the blame. And this is a quarterback who came into the season, had some of that hype as a guy who could potentially go as the first pick in the draft next spring, and he has not lived up to that. I think a lot of that has to do with his offensive line, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that LSU does not have a run game. We saw in this game they finished with 100 yards rushing, but 51 of those came on the one run by Caden Durham late in the game when they were kind of already out and chasing the points. So when you're not able to run the ball and your offensive line isn't able to give you time, it is very difficult to play quarterback in the SEC. It's very difficult to play quarterback anywhere when you're not getting that kind of support from your running game and your offensive line. So we have certainly seen that this year, but you would hope at some point he is able to kind of just rally the team, like I was mentioning with Diego Pavia earlier. That's a guy who's inspiring confidence in his teammates right now. I don't know if Garrett Nussmeier is doing the same.
Chip?
I think that Garrett Nussmeier is doing about the best as he can, because there's something about an oblique injury. They typically don't get better if you keep getting hit. And the thing about having an offensive line that has some issues is you keep getting hit. I just think we're dealing with a player who is that really just like going out there, and he is trying to make some of those throws, and they are able to get into situations where they are converting big plays. But again, it just looks so difficult all the time because of their inability to block up front and their inability to generate a consistent run game. Garrett Nussmeier will have better seasons in football. He had better seasons at LSU before this. I think he will have better seasons than this at the next level. But it is just all falling apart for this LSU offense. And in terms of the college football playoff, Tommy, I think it really comes down to, do you have confidence? I mean, sure, like they say, it's a 5% chance of running the table, right? Then they finish as a 10-2 regular season, 2-loss team, potential at-large candidate. Well, look, they ain't running the table if they can't score. And they can't score if they can't run the football. And so I just think that I'm losing confidence in LSU, not from a mathematical standpoint, but just from a visual standpoint. This just does not look like one of the top-tier teams in the Southeastern Conference or one of the 12 or 15 best in the country.
Yeah, there was going to be, at some point, some shootout games, and right now they're not able to go firepower for firepower because the defense gave up a season-high 31 today against Vanderbilt. Then there's the Brian Kelly conversation because both LSU and Garrett Nussmeier, preseason guys, were top 4 when it comes to rankings and Heisman odds. But right here now, Brian Kelly, Tom, 5-10 against ranked opponents. Had that great pop in the first year with LSU. How would you characterize his time right now in Baton Rouge?
It's been a failure. I don't think there's any other way you can spin this. If you think of the situation, when Brian Kelly first left Notre Dame for the LSU job, his explanation for making that move was he felt like he could compete for national titles at LSU in a way that he wasn't able to at Notre Dame. Last year, Notre Dame was in the title game. This year, we're looking at another season where it looks like Brian Kelly and the LSU Tigers will fall short of making the college football playoff. And last I checked, if you want to win a national title, you have to make the playoff. So we're in a spot here where they've got 2 losses. They've got a lot of difficult games left on the schedule. And I just think roster-wise, there's no way in season to fix that offensive line. And to this point, they haven't figured out a way, Joe Sloan, the offensive coordinator, to successfully scheme around that offensive line. So I don't know where this team can go forward from here. And this is a very difficult job for Brian Kelly at this point to save the season because things are in the threat of, spiraling out of control here really quickly. And when things go bad at LSU, we know they don't have that much patience for not winning football games there.
Does Brian Kelly want to take the side door out somewhere else? Does he want to serve up some red meat for the boosters? Because if we're going to talk about predicting how this goes forward, Brian Kelly is undeniably under an immense amount of pressure. And if Brian Kelly is the head coach for the 2026 season, well, then he is on the Mount Rushmore of hot seat coaches going into the 2026 season with a very much win big or else type proposition, as he still has yet to make the college football playoff and as he still has yet to really achieve the success of many of his predecessors there at Louisiana State University. However, I think Brian Kelly could potentially be a hot commodity for another job if we do have one of these, cataclysmic type coaching carousels, similar to the year that brought Brian Kelly to LSU with all of those big time jobs all open at once. So what does Brian Kelly want to do? Because Tom just mentioned a name right there, Joe Sloan. You still have the opportunity to say, I promoted from within when Mike Denbrock left. I made a mistake. I'm going to go make a new offensive coordinator hire. And that will at least show I'm willing to make some changes. I acknowledge this offense was not up to snuff. But even in that situation, you are doing that and then putting your future on the line with that new offensive performance, which very likely will not have Garrett Nussmeier and will have a lot of retooling to do from a personnel perspective. So, Tom, I think this is, what does Brian Kelly want? Because if you stay at LSU, and you're probably going to have to make some staff changes, and you go into next season on the hot seat. If you go out the side door, well, then maybe there's another option for you. And of course, if you're LSU, how much money is real right now? And that's in the eyes of the boosters. I can't answer that one.
Yeah, it's just crazy because given all the other external factors, you still have, of course, what's happening in Baton Rouge in this LSU program, which is still a good team. We're not saying the sky is falling, but there are certainly warning signs that you can see if you check the radar that problems are coming, and we certainly saw some of that played out today. Guys, certainly appreciate it. Good talk about these two teams, LSU and Vanderbilt. Let's cap it off with the team that won, right? Boy, Vandy experiencing some things that they rarely ever do as a program. Best 7-game start since 1940. You see 41-50 with 7 and 8 wins respectively. They play more games now, hoping to eclipse that and do better in 2025.